Okay, good day everyone. So I think let's continue the report. The basic concept of agroforestry. So I think everyone of us already have an idea of what is agroforestry, the importance of agroforestry in our environment and to our society also. So when we talk in agroforestry, mabutang sa tunguna-una, it is a land area that nag-exist on different components, the woody plants, the crops, and also the pastures. So now is what is the basic concept of agroforestry? So in agroforestry system, there are both economical and ecological interaction between the different components. So in the different components, naadiri ang economical and ecological interaction. So when we talk in components, dagana sila. So in agroforestry is the one of sustainable approaches to land use management where both agricultural and forestry combine into an integrated production system to get maximum benefits. So in ang agroforestry system daw, it is a combination of the two, the agriculture and the forestry into integrated production system para maget ang maximum benefits sa ana para sa mga na involved anang area. So ingon po ni iCrop, agroforestry is a deliberate integrations of the woody components with agricultural and pastoral operations on the same pace and other and land either a spital or temporal sequence in such a way that both ecological and economic interaction occur between them. So ingon ni International Center Research of Agroforestry, it is a deliberate integration of woody components. It is the combination of agriculture and pastoral nga go-operate ana nga area. Madunay meaning sa agroforestry. So now, let's go for the basis of the classification of agroforestry. So in the year 1987, used basis for classification of different agroforestry systems. These are the structure of the system. It is the compositions of and also the arrangement of the components. Second is the functions of the system. It means the rule and the output of the components. So for the structural classification, structural classification to composition, stratification, and dimension of the crops. Number one, it is the agro-silvicultural system. So these are the type of the system of agroforestry. So agro-silvicultural system refer to the use of land for the production of agricultural and forest crop. So it means sa aning agro-silvicultural system, ang mga components nga ga-exist ani is the components of woody plants and the crops. It is a combination of the two nga makita aning area. So example, the intercropping of the forest plantation with agricultural crops. So growing agriculture with crops in the forestry, combination of trees and the crops. So let's go for the silvipastoral system. So silvipastoral system refers to the land management system in which forests are managed for the production of wood as well as the rearing of domestic animals. So it is a combination of the production of foods or the woody plants or the trees as well as the domestic animals or the pastures. It is combination of the two, the animals and the trees. So let's go for the third. So agro-silvipastoral system. So this is the combination of the two systems, the agro-silvipastoral system and the agro-silvicultural the agro-silvicultural and the silvipastoral system. For example, the forest with agricultural crops and grazing land. So the forest with crops and also the domestic animals or the pastures. So and the fourth is the others. So what is others? The multipurpose tree plantation system. So this is the group refers to the management of forests to yield fuel, wood, timber, fodder, fruits, medicine, etc. There are different types of trees yield in different production. So let's go for the classification of agroforestry system based on the nature of the composition. So classification of the based on the dominance of the components. On the basis of dominance of components, the system is further classified into the following categories. So they are, I think, um, there are five types of category. And the first one is the silvi-agricultural. Her silvicultural is primary aim of land use. Trees constitute the major components while agricultural crops are the integrated with. So it means a major or dominant aning nga components aning nga area is the tree. Sumusunod lamang ang crops or um, the second one lamang or the major are the agricultural crops are just an integrated with shifting cultivation at taongya cultivation. So and let's go for the second. So agri-silvicultural. Agriculture is a primary major components and the trees are the secondary. So it means the main components of the in this area or the dominant component it is the agriculture or the crops. So ang secondary lamang is ang trees. For example, ani is the multi-purpose trees on farmland, hedgerow or ally cropping, and the intercropping of trees and also the home garden. So mas dominant ang agricultural than secondary lamang ang trees. So the third one, the silvipasture. So trees constitute the primary major and components of the land use with pasture as a secondary. So it means the dominant ani gapon ani nga area it is the trees. The secondary lamang the components of land use with pastures or mas dominant gapon ang trees than the pastures ga exist ani nga area. So the third one, the pastoral silviculture. So pasture is a primary component while the tree is a secondary. From the word pastoral, so halata naging kayo mas primary ang pasture nga ga-exist sa aning nga area than the other component the tree is just a secondary lamang. So the fourth, the agri-silvipasture, it is the combination of crop trees and pastures. Both crops land trees are dominant over pasture. So it is the combination of the crop trees and the pastures, but both crops and trees are dominant over the pasture. Mas dominant gyapon ang crops and trees ani ga-exist ani nga area than sa ga-exist nga pasture. So the fifth one, so the silvi-agropasture, it is a combination of trees, crops and pasture. Trees are dominant over other components. So it is a combination of the three nani. So the three components, the trees, crops and pasture. But ani nga area mas dominance kapon nga ga-exist it is ang trees other than the other components, the crops and the pasture. So there are classification based on the dominance of the components. So let's go for the next one. So this is the tree with fish culture. That one, as we can see, makita na to ang trees and crops. So combination of fish culture. So the second one figure is a trees with crop field. So next one. So the base on the arrangement of the components. So arrangement of the components can involve the dimension of space and time based on the arrangement of the components. So agroforestry system can be classified as in space or spatial arrangement, and also in a time or temporal sequence. And the third one is the vertical stratification of the components. So classification of the agroforestry system of the basis of the space or spatial arrangement. So natay tulod the mixed dense, the mixed pairs and the stripe plantation. So unsa ang mixed dense? Modern and different components are in together with high density. So example ani is ang home garden. So og ang mixed pairs naman is a different components are arranged together with low density. Most systems of trees, pastures, scattered trees on agricultural land. So ang stripe plantation, wide of stripe to be more than one tree, or example ani pakita na to is ang alay cropping, boundary plantation, trees on edge of large fields. So mao na atong space or spatial arrangement of the classification of agroforestry system, the mixed dense, mixed pairs, and striped plantation. So let's go for the second one, type of classification of agroforestry system in one on the basis of the time of temporal sequence. So the coincidence in accordance with different crops occupy the land together. Example ani is a take coffee under the tree, pastures under the trees. So mo na kitawag na coincident. So the concomitant, it is with different components stay together for certain period. So may example na to ang taong year system. So di ba original na atong taong year system is slash and born, di ba? So let's go for the third one, the intermittent, when annual crops are grown in the perennial ones. So when annual crops are grown in the perennial ones, example ani is the rice under the coconut trees or other the MPT, seasonal grazing and cattle in the pastures under the trees. Mo day katawag na to nga intermittent na bilong sa time or temporal sequence. So the interpolated, so when different components occupy the space during different times. Example ani isang atong home garden. So the separate, while components occupy space at different times. So example na ito isang improved fallow space and shifting cultivation. So mo na itong gitawag na separate. So there are 5 types of basis of time and temporal sequence: the coincident, concomitant, intermittent, interpolated, and separate. So next, so classification of the base of the stratification. On the basis of vertical classification. So the first one is the single layer. The major components usually grow in a one layer story, like a tree garden. Muna kitawag na ito nga single layer. Napoy double layer is a component sa pag-grow two layer. So the tea and the coffee under the tea, coffee under the shade tree. So muna kitawag na ito nga double layer. So multi-layer is different co-components grown in different layer. Example is the homestead agroforestry. There are different components na grow a different layer, different components ng isang layer in a different layer. So murag combinations of components in one layer. So muna gitawag nga multi-layer. So classification on the base of the stratification on the basics of spacing. So the dense, the plantation population of hyper unit, example sa monoculture plantation forest and the boundary plantation. So mo sige tawag na dense. And the second is the scattered. The components are grown sparsely or scattered, from the word of scattered, bulag-bulag. So example ana is ang agri-silviculture, di ba? Ang mga components ana is ang components ana is sa anang area is different components, but they are not in layered or arranged. So next one is mixed intercropping. So different components are grown together. Example is growing of the field crops and horticulture crops in dry land forests. So that is a mixed intercropping. From the mix, from the word of mix, different components kay exist ana nga area. So the multi-layer agroforestry system. So this is the example figure. So next, the functional classification. On the basis of various functions of the agroforestry system are classified into the following: production agroforestry system. This system refers to the production of essential commodities required to meet the basic needs of the society. And the second one is the protective agroforestry system. These systems refer to protect the land, to improve climate, reduce wind and water erosion, improve soil fertility, provide shield and other benefits of benefits. So example ani nga makaprotect isang wind, living fences o shelter build. Mostly atong ginagamit karon diri sa atong area, like mga farmers karon is matong Madrid cacao or the I forget the term, the other term or the common name sa ana. So malay mga tawagan itong mga living finches. So makatabang na siya. Like to reduce the wind of water erosion sa ana atong area. So I think that's all, and thank you. So that's the basic concept of agroforestry.